Mike, do you want to say anything before?
We keep acquiring items from Rolf Blass. He keeps donating all kinds of electronic equipment, which is wonderful because there's even more and more and more that he's bringing into the museum every week. So when you see Rolf, thank him for all of his donations. That's the biggest thing right now. Thank you, David.
Okay, good. Okay, Sunday, October 27th, happy hunting at the museum at 2 p.m. And do you want to say anything about that program? No? Okay. I think it's a program where we're going to talk about, there's going to be a little music, and we're going to talk about the history of certain families, and we're going to have some pantomime or some people are going to take the, do some role playing on these characters.
I think Jane here is going to be one of the characters.
Oh. I don't know what character I'm in.
Well, whatever.
You don't? Okay. So it should be a fun program. Friday, November 1st, lunch program in Scranton. Denise O'Brien Van is how electricity came to Greene County. Man, and when you think about it, if you think about what it was like, I can't, because I grew up in a house when I was real small with one light bulb in each room, and that was it. So it should be very interesting. And my relatives,
I had no electricity. I grew up for 7 years with no electricity.
Yeah, and several people, my ancestors from Rippey lived in the country, and I think they were the same situation. And I have a diary from one of my aunts that tells that they lived in town, and after they got electricity in their farmhouse, they moved back to the farm. So they were living in town because Rippey had electricity before the rural counties, or the rural farmsteads. And then Sunday, November 10th, Greene County naturalist Jacob Renholz at the museum at 2 p.m. Oh, okay.
He's tagging along. I'm tagging along and learning to do so.
Okay. So we'll see you November 10th.
Yep. And then there's also October 17th. It's going to be here as well. I'm going to be doing a little meet and greet as well. So a similar presentation to the Historical Society.
Okay. And I have Tanner Scheuermann, who will be doing our program today, to tell a little bit about how he got into this business of conservation. So Tanner, take it away.
Turn my mic on. Yeah. So yeah, whoa. I want to turn it down. Is there a volume? There, that's it. All right, so again, my name is Tanner Scheuermann. I am a graduate from Jefferson Scranton Paint Churn the year 2000. So it's been about 24 years since I graduated. While I was here and while I was growing up here, I was my family avid fisher, hunter. My dad competition coon hunted for a number of years. So always been outdoors, always been either down the river or pond somewhere. So it's a good background to have to get into this field. It kind of gives you a little bit of a bump into that. So again, right after I graduated high school, I actually moved down to North Carolina, Asheville. Seen it quite a bit in the news lately, unfortunately, but spent about a year and a half down there. Did a little bit of everything. I framed houses, worked in an animal shelter, did a little volunteering for the Nature Conservancy, and then slowly made my way back home, as most of us do. When I got back here, I went to DMAC. At that point, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I went for commercial horticulture, and I interned with iCubs for a little bit, and I always knew I kind of wanted to get into something in this field. So my second year there, I actually was fortunate enough to intern with the Polk County Conservation Board down at Chichocka Bottoms by Maxwell, Iowa. Beautiful area. Was very blessed to have that opportunity. I learned a lot about natural resources, about natural resource management, which is my background. While I was there, they kind of pushed me into, you know, if you want to really get into this field, you probably need to take the next step and take the next step and go to your master's. So I enrolled at Iowa State University, I believe in 2012, would have been the summer or fall of 2012. Had my background in horticulture already, so I was able to transfer some of those credits over. Was fortunate enough to go up to UP in Michigan, up by Baraga, to forestry field camp for about 4 weeks. Learned a lot about the forestry industry. You know, you don't see a lot of that around here in rural Iowa or Iowa period, maybe a little up in the Driftless area, but over in the Manas they've got some, but that was really neat to learn that too. And at that point, I kind of foresaw myself going out west or out east and working the forestry field. I did apply for a couple jobs, but I also had that passion in county conservation because I'd worked for Polk County for a number of years. So I did apply for a position as operations manager with Boone County Conservation, and was fortunate enough to get that position about 2 months out of graduating from Iowa State. So again, I didn't have to move far. I was able to drive back and forth from Ames for about a year before we found a place in Boone. And then knew at some point I was going to work my way back this way. And about 3 years ago, Dan Towers called me, and former conservation director, longtime conservation director for Greene County, and said, "Hey, I'm retiring." "Oh, congratulations," you know, and a little chat. The phone kind of got silent. And, "Well, are you going to apply for it?" I guess I hadn't even thought at that point. So I did apply, and you know, kind of talked with the wife about making the move. Not a very big move, but we did make the move over to Greene County. We actually live just about a mile north of here, right there on the south end of Snake Creek Marsh. Perfect place for me to live. A lot of wildlife, and my kids get to experience that every day too, so really neat. But yeah, that's my background, and again, I've been here about 3 years now. I'd like to say we got a lot done in that 3 years, but you know, in between all the storms and you know, droughts and everything else that Mother Nature throws at us, it keeps us pretty busy. So I know today what I'm going to visit with you a little bit about. Some of you may or may not remember about this time last year, I think it was. I did a talk on Spring Lake, and I really like to do this. It kind of gives me the opportunity to, I guess, reemerge myself in Greene County and to learn a lot more about these assets that we have in Greene County. And like I said, did Spring Lake about a year ago. And now I'm going to do Squirrel Hollow for you folks today. And how many of you knew that Squirrel Hollow is the second oldest county park in the state? Before you read this. Not very many. Honestly, before I moved back here, I didn't know that either. I had no clue. And had I known that, things may have been a little different. I may have, you know, tried to push to get this park back to, you know, up to par. But no, it's fine. It is, they've done a lot of work out there over the years, a lot of work around the county period. Between all of the different parks, we manage about 2,000 acres of bike trails, wildlife areas, campgrounds, and things like that. Go ahead.
I had trouble hearing. Did you say where your office is?
We are located at Spring Lake Park now. For many years, Dan Towers was in the courthouse, right next to the recorder's office. But when I moved, Spring Lake, yep, and we're in the little building right there in the middle of the median when you pull in right there. Go ahead.
They adjusted the volume down. So
I'll say move. Okay, that's better. Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you. So again, Squirrel Hollow is Iowa's second county park. County park system, again, I'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit, but we are very, very blessed to have one of the oldest parks in the state, right here in our county, and you can tell by the infrastructure that's there that it is, you know, of that time period. So, go ahead, Jake. So you can't really talk about a lot of these areas without talking about what they looked like prior to European settlement. We arrived here in Greene County right around 1850, but before that, much of Greene County was covered in very vast prairies, wetlands, marshes. But we also had a little bit of forested areas kind of down around the river, Squirrel Hollow area, our riparian areas around our creeks and things like that. But they estimate approximately 18% of Iowa was forested prior to about 1849, 1848, 1849. And when you talk about forests, again, as a forester, you know, we have a number of different types of forests in Iowa. You know, we all know kind of our woodland, bottom woodland areas. We also have, very fortunate to have vast oak savannas. We don't have a lot of them left anymore, but there are still some out there. So as far as all of those different forest compositions go, like I said, we have about 18% of forested area within Iowa. The really neat thing about Squirrel Hollow is a lot of that is virgin. It was virgin when they purchased the land back in the 30s, and it's still, a lot of that remains untouched today. There are 125 plus years, probably older than that, bur oaks out there, and other pre-settlement plant communities that exist there today. A couple of those, morels, we all know they do like a little disturbance, they don't like a ton of disturbance, so a lot of those colonies have been there for generations. American ginseng, a very healthy population of American ginseng throughout Squirrel Hollow Park. The thing about ginseng is you're looking at areas that you need a lot of that virgin timber. You need those old stands of timber. Some of those roots can be, 50, 60 years old. So they could be as old as the park or somewhere right around here. So again, pretty neat to have those within the park. So when you come to Squirrel Hollow Park, you don't really start in the bottomland, you start in the upland. I guess it depends on where you come from, but like anywhere in Iowa, we kind of start out in the tall grass prairie, and then we kind of move into that bur oak savanna area. Go ahead and click on there. And that's kind of what we have in the upland area. And then as you transition down into the river, the bottomland forest, and the floodplain, the North Rapid River below. So yeah, again, with that, you can imagine with some of these areas, you know, there was a lot of settlement, there were a lot of camps and things like that for Native Americans for many years. We're not talking just about the native tribe or I guess you call them modern tribes that we know of today. This goes back thousands of years to those woodland cultures that were inhabited from South America clear up into, you know, the Midwest and Missouri and Mississippi Valley as we know it today. The Oneota tribe actually inhabited Greene County from in about 12,000 AD, and Sac and Meskwaki Fox Indians inhabited Greene County from 1700 AD. And they were actually in Greene County, documented up around Horseshoe Bend area. Anybody know where that is? Up around Scranton, north of Scranton area. So there were actually documented camps that were in that area. There's actually some fairly, not recent, but from the time, newspaper articles talking about interactions with the Native Americans and things like that. So pretty neat that we have that here in Iowa. In 1837, the eventual Iowa Indian chief, Milhart, that's his, I guess, English name, presented a map to the U.S. Tribal Congress in D.C., arguing about some previous tribal boundaries that the government had set. So, you know, we talk a lot about that, Native American tribes and things. They, you know, like we have town borders, we live in Jefferson, I live in Rippey. Well, a lot of Native Americans, they were nomadic, they moved around a lot. So they didn't have static borders that they used. They basically used landmarks and knew they overlapped with other tribes and maybe some they didn't get along with, some that they did, but those things did happen. And this is the Milhart map, famous Milhart map that he produced to Congress, to the Tribal Congress in Washington, D.C., showing that, you know, again, we don't have tribal lines, we exist in this whole area along with these other tribes. So not only did that kind of show the government where these areas existed, that kind of showed us too where some of these ancient trade routes and these waterways existed. So this next slide is kind of neat. So this is probably our earliest known map of Greene County. Modern maps have been overlaid with the Milhart map. You can kind of see it here. You've got the different tributaries there, and the different tributaries laid out on here on the Iowa map. The little blue dot that you can see identified as Storm Lake, if you look over there, that's the same blue dot there. If you go down the river a couple counties, that's technically where we are as far as on Milhart's map. So again, pretty neat. Honestly, if you look at the map, we lie right dead center in one of those old trade routes that they use. So again, we're pretty confident that we know for sure that there were Native Americans here. We, in 1967, at another one of our parks just west of Jefferson, they were constructing the sledding hill there, and they unearthed 3 Native American remains there. There was a full-grown adult, a juvenile female, and then one of undetermined age and sex. But again, these folks lived and they traded and they traveled up and down these river corridors because there was food, there was water, there was cover. They were able to trade with others as well. When I was in Boone County prior to here, we identified some mountains on the Des Moines River, kind of just on the east of the High Trestle Trail Bridge. And local historian and archaeologist, Don Worth is his name, he actually met us out there and we did kind of some surveying. We did some archaeological work to determine if there's anything near these mounds. And we didn't find anything significant, found a lot of pottery shards, some of the other stuff that's kind of indicative to some of these old camps, but that proved that there were people there and they were doing something there. Now, obviously we can't just go under these mounds and find out what's in them. We don't know if they're burial or ceremonial or exactly what they are, but they do exist, and we think they likely exist up and down the Raccoon River as well. One thing that in the process of upgrading things at Squirrel Hollow, likely